There's definitely lots of things going on in Michigan. And one of the biggest things that's happening is that, businesses are shut down or businesses are open. People are doing this and people are doing that. This is a show on health, so I'm going to talk about the health of a person, the physical health, but you also have to talk about societal health too. What is it healthy? And it's healthy to be involved in something if you want to. It's healthy also to be informed. It's also healthy to kind of know what's going on and then know what to do about it. It's a perfect example of what I do as a QRA practitioner is I spend time with you to, whether we're just talking or it's me physically being in contact with you and doing the QRA testing, the kinesiological muscle testing, and it's getting information, going to your body and saying, okay, parts of the body and then body as a whole, what's going on, and then what do we do about it? First thing is what's going on, tell me the status, and does that measure up to what 100% status should be, okay? But if it's not, then how do we get it there? And there's lots of different techniques, and my big technique is to go at it from you are what you eat, you are what you're made out of. But we are in the 21st century, we are so woefully inadequate in many of the base nutrients. And so, I come from the perspective of on a biomechanical, chemical, mechanical, you are what you eat. The machine's got to get fed, the machine's got to detoxify. Just those basic types of things is number one on that level is I don't care how good you eat. In this country, it's all near impossible, especially if you get into a deficiency, which then turns into trouble, then turns into a condition. Okay, any condition is really, you can trace it back to something where, where did Hansel and Gretel get off the road? Where is you weren't following the cues and because you didn't know your body, but also even more so, you live in a society that has completely divorced you of your body and has just fed, your wants and desires, but has nothing to, like, where is the grandma anymore in anyone's life who says, I don't care, you're eating your liver and you're not getting up until you do. And not accepting that it's, to say that I just was mistreated, but yet, no, you don't get to make that excuse. And why? Because it was a society that was built on those types of principles. The principles of, like, for instance, putting in, tortilla rolls or something like that, or just something that you pulled off the shelf out of a box, as opposed to, okay, we just cut this meat up. We got these bones. We have to soak the bones. We have to extract all that stuff out. And it's not because we're poor. It's not because we're skimpy. It's because, wow, like this makes a huge difference. And the difference between that stuff that you may have been eating and thought it was normal and, oh, it's homemade and everything like that, but track it back to where it came from. Like the living stuff is gone from it, let alone it was grown in a country where they for sure did not stick the stuff that they took out of it back in, for sure. All they did was just stuck in the chemicals and they basically hooked it up to the drugs and basically, was making it grow. So think about most of Western food is really like the wheat and just the potatoes, the carrots and the meat, everything that it's made out of is essentially it's on life support. So the what's called NPK, which is the fertilizer that they put. I've been to these big factory farms, and when you go up to it, it's like, oh my God, look at this! This beautiful lettuce is growing in cabbage, but you also see that the ground that's around it is completely dead, right? It's completely dead, and every day they have to pump stuff in the water, which is fertilizer, to keep it going. Because if you didn't pump that fertilizer, it wouldn't live. It for sure wouldn't do it. So it's basically just kind of like, it's slavery of the plants. So, but if you get real food, okay, you can start to, and real food is basically when you put those nutrients, especially the minerals, back into it. Now, that being said, is sometimes you are so far off from so many decades that what you have to even catch up is a supplement. And a supplement would be these things that are concentrated. And the goal of every supplement that I deal with is the most purest form, the most bioavailable form, the most sustainably this type of thing. But again, it has to be done right. It has to be not fake, and it also has to be provided by a company who says they believe in these things, but also has to prove it, which is, okay, it has to go through these tests and studies, which is, are you 100% sure that it has no toxin in it? Especially like no formaldehyde or anything like that. Any other company that doesn't have with Premier Research Labs and everything else that I deal with is, if it doesn't have that testing ability, then you can't say that. And in the supplement world, it's just the Wild West, just like it is out there. It's like they say, sure, it's carrots. Sure, this is dried up carrots. And then it turns out to be dyed cornstarch, right? And that's so a company that's able to do that. So that's what I do is being able to, and that's how people can respond so quickly to stuff, because it's not also about what you eat in terms of, you also have to change what you eat and change the type of foods you eat. And that means you're still eating some of that crappy food. And eventually you'll get strong enough to where you'll be able to interact with other people who make their own food, and then you make their own food, right? So that's part of it. But let me get back to what I was saying, which is I'm talking about, my plug today is, one of the plugs is this Stand Up Michigan. Stand Up Michigan is a YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to it. And today they're at 4 p.m. live. They are basically going to do a live cast, and no, they have a subscribe. Basically, this is kind of like a channel that you can, not just a YouTube channel, but one of the things that I like about this one, and they're going to talk about, this is specific to what's going on with the mandates, what's going on with the lockdowns and the restaurants that are open, the restaurants that are not open, this type of thing. What I like about this one is they are going to provide a list that's actually, you go on your computer. I'm saying it's the new Yelp. Okay, so the cool thing about Yelp, which is if you're driving down the road and you're like, we're in this town and like, what's to eat? My wife and I use it all the time. But now it's like, we found this when we've been traveling. It's like, what's to eat? We go there and they're closed. Oh no, we're not serving, we're not open, everything like that. And it doesn't say that on their Yelp, right? And so we've done wild goose chases. This one is a list, and they're going to break it down into counties here in Michigan. So it's a searchable of who's open, who is, and again, who is defying the governor's lockdowns. Now, one of the reasons why is, number one, so that the businesses, because they should be able to make choices. But also what that does is enough people do it, enough people interact with the people who are doing it. You just don't know about it. So this is a great way to connect to, how do I give them my money? How do I go out and stuff like this? But what that does is, if enough people do that, then that forces the governor to work with the legislature. Because if the people are doing what they want, and that's not what she wants, or not what they say they want, then they're going to have to deal with it, which means they're going to have to deal with it in the legislature. And so at 4 p.m. today on the YouTube channel Stand Up Michigan, they're doing a live thing. And so be there, be square. But one of the things that I've, and they ask you to join up and stuff like that. You can do that if you don't want to or don't. I think the benefit of what this would be this particular new technology, which is they're going to provide a list that's updated and is searchable, and it's literally is restaurants, skating rinks, bowling, entertainment venues, you name it, which is the things that they say that they can't do, and businesses and people that want to go to those businesses that say, and one of the things that I've heard about this is what they're doing is because they are hiring people to go onto Yelp and other, let's say, Google platforms and stuff like that, and they're paying them to make bad reviews on these places that stay open, right? And they're trying to crush their business that are open because they can't come in and shut them down physically. So what they're trying to do is espionage, and that's what's happening. And that's possible. That can happen. So, but what can happen is the opposite, with people can kind of get together and say, we're going to get together and we're going to vet this on ourselves, and we're going to then support these businesses. So instead of staying home more often, if you want to go out and go to these things, right? Again, safety matters, and take safety into your own hands. But this is what I see as the value of that, is looking at this YouTube channel and these organizations. And like I said, this is being able to have, wouldn't it be nice to be able to have like a pop onto your computer and say, hey, I want to do this. Where can I go? Who's open? Who will let me do that, right? And so you can be with other people that will say, hey, I know we take it on our own to come here, but that's our right. And that is our, we have freedom, right? It's true. So, and then today I'm also going to talk about another thing. I got to look at the, what time it is. Okay. And that is throughout the years, I grew up with a kid who had tubes in his ears. My wife's sister had tubes in her ears. This ears failure to release pressure. When you see it in a baby will, like, how do they know? Like, babies will be like so whiny and cry, and they'll tug at their ears. And like this, little babies get ear infections, and then the ones that get this chronic ear infection. So, but then we also get into people that are above 10 years old, and then they get that where the ears get plugged up and they fail to release pressure, and they can get stuck where, it's like, and you know how to blow your nose and stuff like that to relieve pressure. I'm a scuba diver, so you know how to do that when you get in an airplane. But like, I know people that have been on an airplane and they've ruptured their eardrums because it wouldn't equalize pressure. And that's what a baby goes through too, is like it's so much pressure. But what causes that? What is the cause of that? And there's multiple causes. So, feeling fullness in the ear sometimes with decreased hearing. So like when it gets, and this is also with people that get water stuck in their ear and it won't come out and stuff like that. Decreased hearing in that ear. You sounds like I'm like you're in some sort of tunnel or something like that, or somebody stuffed cotton in your ears or something like that. Okay, this may occur early in life as a child, and one of the main, or as an adult, but or it may be gradual onset after an airplane flight. So like swimming when you've gone to the pool and you popped your ears, or driving over a mountain, something that's happened where it's like, oh man, they got stuck, and it would be stuck for a week, right? I remember times like that. After airplane, swimming or a shower, but does not get better. So usually if you get water in your ear, it can be there for, let's say, a day or so, and you kind of sop it up with, let's say, a Q-tip or something like that. But usually, normally, it's going to clear within an hour or so, or up to a day, okay? But so when the pressure occurs early in life, up to the age of 10, like the little kids, one of the things I would normally say, I used to be in an office with a number of chiropractors throughout my career, and Dr. Chase, he's in St. Clair Shores, great, trained with Dr. Goodhart, and I learned all these great techniques that he had learned at his side and stuff like that. So, but, and he saw lots of babies, and one of the things is it's always been said that the mothers that let the babies have the bottle, whether it be, old-timey bottle, which was either breast milk or cow's milk or something like that, or now a modern mom, which would be formula or even, like, say, Kool-Aid or something like that. Anything other than water. If you let the baby fall asleep in the crib with that and they're laying on their side, you know how little babies, they'll just pass out and milk is just kind of streaming out of their mouth. If they lay there, what literally is it pools up, and the milk will pool up inside the eustachian tubes, and then it will start to ferment and it will start to grow. And literally it'll grow like mushrooms and rotten inside their ears. And that's why they tug at it, because it hurts. And so, but not all babies that happens to. So what's the difference between the baby that, like, oh, we let them sleep with the bottle and they're fine, and then the other ones? The difference is the lack of essential fatty acids. It's an oil change. It's fat. Okay. So now we're going to get into the other deep thing, which is what's the story of fat if we're missing it? So DHA, EPA, the delta tocotrienols, which is the vitamin E and that type of thing, vitamin A. These are all these great important oils and nutrients. Then we get into, like, say, the HDL, the LDL, all this other stuff. So when we don't have the essential fatty acids right, one of the top organs. Now, this also is going to get into some Chinese medicine, because this also makes sense, is how things are connected, which is the eyes and the ears are connected to the adrenals and the kidneys. And now then follow that, which is if you're having some problems with that, then it goes from the kidneys to the eyes or to the ears or this stuff. So literally, like the ears, so the people, which is the ear pressure won't go away and stuff like that. The problem is they have not enough essential fatty acids. And if they had enough essential fatty acids, and they can digest it, there's two parts to this, which is because there are a certain class of people that when you put the oil in their body, and I don't care what, to have phone calls there. Sorry about that. When you put the oils in the body, but you don't have a dissolving method of the oils, because remember, oil and water doesn't mix. So if you're taking an olive oil, you're eating a nut, or you're even as a baby drinking the DHA that is in, let's say, the breast milk or cow's milk or even the formula type of stuff, if your gallbladder doesn't secrete or your liver doesn't produce this bile that's liquidy, and if you don't make soap, then you swallow that oil and it just goes like a glob through you and it doesn't get absorbed into the system, okay? So the trick is number one, giving people the right oils. So as a child, by putting them on the DHA, by putting them on, whether it be the cut. So back in the day, little kids didn't get this as much because they took cod liver oil. They took castor oil. You remember the old, like, the Spanky commercials and stuff like that, or shows, or what was it, like the Our Gang and type of stuff. And, you know, or even, what was it, the Three Stooges, where you'd see them, Limburger cheese and cod liver. Oh, cod liver. Because people did that. That was very, very common. And we've lost those ways. And part of it is because people feel that they were abused by having to force, take something that's horrible. And I'm sorry, it does taste horrible. So the other shameless plug I'm going to get to the end of this is a company that made something that's absolutely freaking delicious, amazing, in these forms of the omega-3, which is EPA, DHA, the delta-tocotrienols, which is from the vitamin E, and we get into the power of all these things. But see, they've always been in a level where they taste yuck. And they're either in a capsule that protects the yuck taste, or they've been trying to hide it with a lemon flavor that protects the yuck taste. And you're going to get a whole bunch of people, including kids and stuff like that. Like, okay, I'll die without it, because if that's what it has to be for me, I can't have it. And so the goal is essential fatty acids. So ears are related to this lower system of pressure regulation, because your ears are not just a tunnel. It's not a hole. Well, you go into your ear hole and then it comes to the eardrum, which is, there's a skin that's there. And behind that is literally like a bass drum. Kind of looks like, you know, like the White Stripes, you know, that kick drum. That's what it looks like. Okay, and behind that is this whole other mechanism of, there's like this little arm and little piston and stuff like that, and it literally transfers those vibrations into this whole other system where now you got these air-filled sacs, you got liquid, so, and it's an air that's like hydrogen, it's not really oxygen, but then you got a liquid-filled sac that's also able to kind of, like, you know, when you hear underwater, we are hearing underwater. That's why sometimes too, when people's ears get blocked, it sounds like they're hearing underwater, because they're not able to hear or receive signals from the air-filled sacs, the drum part. They're just getting it through the water of their ear. It's this complicated type of thing. So, but the thing is that it's most responsive to, like I say, you know that you don't have the essential fatty acids, the fish oil, the nuts, the seeds, the meat fat, the plant-based fats, okay? And then when people do take them, either if they can get past the yuck factor, how do you know that these are not toxic? Because again, you could, even like the big fish, tuna oil and you know, should be great, and salmon oil should be great, but they take them from the fisheries and stuff like that, and there's a potential that literally they have mercury. They have batches, there are whole schools of fish that got into something, and that day, they're just full of it. They're full of pesticides and this, and that it gets all mixed in the batch, okay? So when air pressure, usually that's going to be because of the essential fatty acids for kids. The same thing is true when air pressure after 10, maybe, but it's now, as we get older, now it deals with the ears are right next to the teeth. Right next to the teeth. And when you get, 30, 40, 50 years old, something like that, you've had a lot of dental restorations. You've lost some teeth. You have some fillings. You may still have the metal fillings. These things leach up into the organs that are around. So they can leach into your eyes, poisoning the eyes. They can leach into your ear, poisoning the ears. And if the ears are already struggling with not enough essentially fatty acids, then they've lost their shield, or they've been made naked. So the fat layer on anything in the body is literally clothing. It's like, in the Bible, it's like they, made skins for them. You're like, that's not good enough. Here, put this on. You got to have something to protect you. And a lipid layer protects everything. Everything needs Vaseline. Everything needs Vaseline to protect it and coat it and make it slip around in each other, stuff like that. Fish skin, where it has a mucosal layer so that when you grab onto it, it slips right out of your hands. That's what our tissues are supposed to be like on a literally mechanical level. But if you look at what makes that, it's this mixture between oil and water, fat. But oil's got to be able to get there. So let alone you have to have it in your diet. And most people do not have the essential fatty acids. And most people, when they get into a life of, let's say, older, and you get into some like 50, 60 years old, it's not only did they not get that, the forms that they got were the worst monster forms, like the hydrogenated oil and the margarine, and the people that bought the whole shtick of like, hey, Land O'Lakes with this, it's made from safflower and it's made from, canola oil, super toxic, stupid type of stuff. This is stuff that they made for the war. And again, it was a lie then, and it's a lie now, and it doesn't even taste as good. It's just, so, and we get into this whole thing between polysaturated and unsaturated fat. You need it all. You need it all. But the thing is that what you need is the mechanisms to break it down. More importantly, just because you've got the builder, you have to have the bricklayer. You have to have the guy that makes the cement and the mortar. They have to be, it has to go together. So a big thing is that so that's again with the essential fatty acids, is as you get older, you'll have a person that says, I hear you, Jason. I'm going to take my DHA stuff. I'll take my DHA pills and stuff like that. I'll eat more avocados and stuff, but it doesn't get to them. And so for those people, that's where you'll know through the testing, but that's why I also recommend, which is, the great insurance measure is when you take an essential fatty acid, that would even be, let's say, grass-fed eggs, pasture eggs, grass-fed beef, lamb, this type, the highest quality type of stuff that you can get is the best, and high levels of it. Eat more fat and get rid of the lard and this other, not, the fake lard, the Crisco type of stuff. No, that's monster stuff, and it's clogging you up. And what cleans that stuff out is actually not some sort of solvent and not some sort of mechanical process, some sort of surgery. What cleans it out is you give your body what it was missing, the real, not the imposter, but the real fat. And then that eats away at the bad fat. It allows the body to look at that bad fat and say, why would I hold on to you? Like, it's gone, and it lets it go. It doesn't even metabolize it, because the problem is if we metabolize the bad fats that have lots of toxins in it, now we get exposed to the toxins. And so that's why the next part of this is that fat is also protection. It's an anti-inflammatory. It is a protection against the damage. So not only does it prevent the damage, so the oiled glove, like a baseball glove that doesn't sit around, in the dirt for years and become all hard and crusty, the one that's used and well oiled and maintained and stuff like that will last forever and perform forever. The cell that stays hydrated and oleated stays supple, okay? But it also, the fat is, as I said, it is the shields. So the Millennium Falcon, I don't care how good it is, get those shields up, man. Keep those shields and repair those shields, because you're going to take hits, and the hits is taken away from the shields. And so you don't have to get into the repair job if you just repair the shields. So the essential fatty acids, so again, going back to the pressure in the ear, is when you, like I said, being in Dr. Chase's office, I saw these little kids that had these problems and had the tubes in the ears, or pre-tubes and stuff like that. And then when they were put on a good essential fatty acid that they could metabolize, that they could take, And some of them, it was you actually had to provide a different source, like what's called a liposomal, or this other part that I'm talking about, which is a mycel liposomal. So there's a chemical kind of process that you can do to it while maintaining its intact. Don't break it down. It's best to have it in your purest form. But if you have a problem in terms of absorption, then you have to provide it with some absorption helpers, or turn it into a structure that your body would already turn it into. Do the work for your body. And I'm going to talk about this product in a minute. But it is, I saw this firsthand with little kids that had a whole bunch of problems, including the ear stuff. And it fixed them in literally less than a month. Fixed it, and it was gone, right? And so essential fatty acids, when you get to them quick enough, they can be very, very dramatic. Now, but I've seen this happen with older people too, which is we put them on these and it goes away. However, the people that don't have an emulsifier with that, which is the limonene, that's one of the things, is the insurance policy is you can always put 2 to 3 drops of this orange D-limonene in some water, and anytime you eat anything that's fat or anything that's made of fat or something like that, like a nut, a seed, the meat, this type of stuff, the butter, it makes sure that it absorbs into the system, or your good olive oil, or these different types of, your avocados, because there's many people who do the right things, but because that system's not supported and it's broken down, it doesn't work for them. But it's just, there's something you don't understand. Hold on. Okay, so, and again, like I said, this is for adults. Then we have another type of thing, which is we get into the lymph that's clogged up from, number one, from dental infections. So the older we get, you got to deal with the dental stuff. And sometimes, too, it's even best to just get the bad ones ripped out and deal with that type of layer, because you got to detoxify this whole area. Okay, but the chronic lymphatic congestion or sinus involvement. So now we get into, as you get older, it's a system. If you don't address it when you're younger with what you were missing, now it gets into a secondary level of its infection, gut infection, because without the essential fatty acids, your body cannot protect itself from these things growing inside, attacking and getting inside and taking over, right? So, and then they create even more malabsorption. So now we start to get, let's say, the gut inflammation that is coupled with, let's say, what's called biofilms, that's mucoid. Literally your guts are layered with like this just sludge that blocks absorption. And when it does absorb, it's absorbing through, it's like going through a tea bag of your own poop. And so you always just get to suck on the poop juice. That's what can happen in terms of and that's where we do an intestinal cleanse type of thing. But if we give it the good essential fatty acids that is able to be absorbed before it even gets to that section, because you don't have mucoids that are inside your esophagus, you don't have them in your stomach, they don't start to form until later in the chain. So if we are able to get the body to absorb these essential fatty acids before it gets to, so even those really bad people, they got to clean that out. But the DHA, or the essential fatty acids, will help every condition, every condition. This is the thing that, take any person with anything, pain, especially inflammation, a memory fog, bad knees, bad digestion, nervous system type of problems, a tick, a shake, or, take your pick. Take your pick. They can all be led to, this is a system that has some form of fat layer to protect it, or as a mechanism of how it works, as a delivery system, blah, blah, blah. And that's the thing that's been the most lacking. That's the thing I look at our system and saying, boy, they really played a huge trick on us, because they made us afraid of fat. They made us afraid of fat. And then they gave us a form of it that most people can't tolerate. Most people, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of people. So could you provide it in a form that's like, wow, like I had no problem doing that. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. Then also this is linked to, in Oriental medicine, the kidney function. Because see, again, remember I talked about your ears are also they're responsive to fluid. So when you get into an airplane or go underwater, it literally is changing the pressure. So like, for instance, when you go underwater, let me describe something. If you were to take your balloon and take it underwater, right? If it's a really big ball and you're a small kid, you can't push it down. You can't make it sink. But if you can get a ball and you're big enough to push it underwater, the deeper you go underwater, the ball gets smaller. It literally compresses because you're going under atmospheres of pressure. So when you go underwater, that's what's happening on your ears. But God engineered it. And that's the same thing as when you go up an airplane and you're in this lifting. You're actually less. You're further away. And so there's a lifting off. And that puts this pressure change on the ear and the eardrum and all these structures in. There's more pressure. But there's this offlet gap, which is that's when you then clear your ears. Equalizing pressure is you're literally able to open up another channel through your eustachian tubes to go and let it off and to change those whole structures. So it's an ingenious way to do that. But what happens is without those systems are especially dependent upon the essential fatty acids, the bioflavonoids, and that's another thing I'm talking about. The bioflavonoids of vitamin C is one of them. But then the ultrapollen is another one of these just awesome bioflavonoids that have been shown great for ear pressure. But the reason is because bioflavonoids are related to a fat. They are connected to a fat. So it still comes back all to the fat type of thing. And then again, so the kidneys, now I'm describing where's the pressure coming from. And sometimes too, I forgot this too, storms. Okay, we think you're sitting in a room and you're not underwater and you're not in an airplane and there should be no changes in pressure. But you've got storms that are coming over and it's causing high pressure, low pressure. And it's the same thing as you feel underwater and our ears can be very, very sensitive to it. And if it gets to the point of and people can tell you where they have inner ear type of stuff or joint stuff, this is where the pressure, because the kidneys are what the blood goes through, and also that's where the kidneys extracts the fluid out to make urine. So it's the stopgap to be able to also internally change your pressure. So your blood pressure on your whole body's pressure is like your ears in terms of you're able to kind of go and equalize the pressure. Driving in the mountains, they say yawning or chewing gum, because again, that equalizes the pressure. Our kidneys are there to also be the equalizer of the pressure. So people who pressure gets stuck in their ears is because also it's related to the kidneys are starting to dry out. What's the number one thing that the kidneys, again, it comes all back first, full circle, is DHA. The kidneys are these filters that they can build up these stones and stuff like that. But when you have a good enough essential oil, enough good oils, those oils get in and clean those filters out and prevents the crystals from forming. And oil cleans out the kidneys. And I can tell you this, I know this 100% perfect because, I have lambs and I have cows, lambs, sheep and everything. And I do the butchering. And I can tell you around the kidneys, especially our really healthy lambs or healthy chickens, there's so much fat it's literally embedded in fat, and you got to cut these fat away. And there's these huge globs of fat that are this clean, pure, white, what they call tallow, the stuff that the Russians love, and everyone around the world, they're like, oh my God, take that and mix that with some salt and then drink it with some vodka. It's like spectacular, this tallow, and it is, and it's so, so clean, and it's so awesome. But that is packed around the kidneys, and in a healthy being, because the oils are used as a detoxifier to pull stuff out of the kidneys and protect the kidneys. So the fat is a layer of, on the outside of the kidneys and on the inside of the kidneys, it's the force shields to protect from damage. Because again, your kidneys are pulling these things out that are poisons, that are literally crystals that are like asbestos crystals that are tearing you apart at the inside. That's what gout is and stuff like that. Gout is a kidney condition. You're not able to get enough uric acid. So again, oil, you need an oil change, especially for the ears, any of these ear conditions types of things, okay? So now let me get to what I have found. There's this girl that, I'm a QRA practitioner, and there's another QRA practitioner. Her name is Laura Campina. She's Latvian. She comes from Latvia, and she lives out in California, and I met her, funny story, and this is where we get into weird synchronicities and stuff like that. Which is, again, short end of the chain, she came up with 2 of these different types of essential fatty acids, DHA, and it's awesome. But the story of Laura, she's another QRA practitioner. She lives up, she's a acupuncturist, And I first met her out when we go to Texas for Premier Research Labs for the QRA seminars. I was in the Austin airport, and there she was with her phone. She's this pretty blonde-haired girl, and she's from California. She's a total Cali girl, but she's Latvian. She's awesome. And I saw that she had the phone protector, the QC disc on the back of her phone, and I'm like, oh, and I had one on my phone, and there's another one, and do you want to ride together? And this was years ago, so I've had many experiences with Laura. And and I remember this company that she formed. It's called SynerChii, SynerChii. You can go to the SynerChii.com. She created these formulas that are these vegan formulas of, but again, it's the really clean sources. And the one of them is this tangerine, which I'll taste it on, and you'll see it's awesome. And then there's other one, this almond butter chocolate, which also provides the delta tocotrienols. And I remember Dr. Barry Tan, he is this American, but I think he's Chinese or something like that. But he formed this company called American River Nutrition. He's this little Chinese guy. And he, Delta Gold is this company that he formed, or American River Nutrition, and he made this process of, okay, the delta tocotrienols, or deltanol, or Delta Gold, it's one of these essential fatty acids, the vitamin E, right? And the cleanest, most high potent source in the world, one of them, but is this what's called the annatto seed. The annatto seed, they have like these little seeds on the inside, and they have like these little spiky kind of pods on this thing. They grow in like the Amazon, and they grow in South. Okay. Annatto, we've seen this a lot, which is when you see cheese, like say cheddar cheese, you read the ingredients and it's annatto color, because it forms this like yellow, and they'll use turmeric for color too, but annatto doesn't have a flavor to it, right? So they extract the color out of it. But annatto seeds have this high level of the vitamin E's, which is, there's different sections of vitamin E's. There's the delta tocotrienols, and then there's the tocopherols. And most people get the tocopherols, and most things like cat food is because it's a preservative, but it actually turns into a free radical in the body. It's the easy thing to get off of this thing. The harder process, the more expensive process, is where all the good's in. So Barry Tan was at one of the seminars because, we use this product. And I remember standing next to Laura, and she was just fawning over him. She was, oh my God, he's so cute, Jason. He's so cute. He's so smart and everything like that. Well, years later, she got a hold of him and said, like me, I've had a ton of people that come in and go, I can't take that stuff. It tastes like fish. I can't take it. I can't, and the kids that go, listen, I know they need it. Like this little girl that has all these skin conditions, but she can't take the fish oil. You can't hide it in any type of applesauce. So the grandma or grandpa desperately need it, but they won't take it. They can't take the pills, and you give them the liquid stuff, and it still tastes like fish to them. She came up with this one. Now, number one, this is the best tasting one. This provides the vitamin D3 with the omega-3 of the DHA and the EPA, but they are in this algal form, which is they're the lowest end of the food chain, which is it's the cleanest source, it's the easiest to get. It's before it gets to the plankton and fish. So it's super clean, super bioavailable, and everything like that. But what they also, so you're getting DHA, all of this great essential fatty acids, plus a vitamin D, and this one is in this tangerine flavor, and literally it is like drinking or taking sunshine. And it's a mycel formula, which means it's super, super bioavailable. And it tastes like candy. It squirts out into a spoon, and so you can give this to a little kid, and it tastes like a Starburst. It's spectacular. And what it means is it's also provided with, you don't need the limonene with it. So this actually has like the limonene in it. And so it's literally anybody can take it without taking another step. Take it right off the spoon. Now then we get into the other one. Oh my God, this one's great too, because it also provides the Dr. Barry Tan's Delta Gold, which is the delta tocotrienols, which is, that thing is so spectacular. It is a super antioxidant, super anti-inflammatory. Now this one, it tastes like, what did I say it tasted like? It is like, it tastes like, so it's a brown one. This one is a almond butter chocolate. This one tastes like a chocolate honey bunches of oats. It is, and take it on its own, and it's strong tasting, but it's very chocolatey, but it also has like a nutty flavor. And this one's not only providing the same thing, which is it's got in your omega-3s, DHA, EPA, but it's also the delta-tocotrienol. So the whole family can do this stuff. This one's a little bit stronger tasting. So what we say is this one's absolutely for the little kids and everybody. So the little kids who like you can't get them to do it, but they desperately need it. This tangerine one. So I'm going to be providing this, and it's spectacular. And what it does is it answers. So this is something that you can try for the ear stuff. So the kids that are complaining, and this can be given to little children, tiny little children. But again, as we get older, all of these conditions can really be related to essential fatty acids. I also recommend like you still eat your good foods, but this is like an insurance measure. And what it does is this corners the market on the people who, I'm sorry, I give them the best advice and that they can't take it. And I don't fault them because it's horrible tasting to a person. And when something tastes bad to a person, there's no way you're going to get past it. But if it's something they desperately need and it could do so many things that, again, this is genius of being able to provide it. And it's this SynerChii, the tangerine I love. The other one, like I said, the almond butter chocolate. So get your essential fatty acids for your ears, for your eyes, for your kidneys, your immune system, every single, again, how much does the force field need to protect the spaceship? Every part of it, every single part of it. And so that's why I'm still smacking my lips. That stuff is really, really good. So today we talked about the ears, and failure to release pressure is this essential fatty acids. And this is a great way to do it. So this is Jason Eagle, your natural health authority. And until next time, this is Healing Matters, your podcast. And later, bye-bye.